10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Engine full power. And liftoff. Go Axiom
3. Further beyond, opening the door for more to follow. Godspeed, Ax-3.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Of course, if you are just joining us, this is the launch of the Axiom 3 launch to the International Space Station. Those incredible views on your screen, and there's our first shot of the Ax-3 crew inside Dragon on ascent. Now, in just a few seconds here, we should hear the call out that Falcon 9...
power and telemetry. Stage 1 throttle down.
There's that call out that Falcon 9's engines are throttling down to help us pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure during ascent.
Max Q.
There's that call out for Max Q.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
And that Falcon 9 is going faster than the speed of sound. Now, at this point, we will begin to throttle Falcon 9's engines back up.
Stage 1 throttle up.
There's that call out for mission control as well, as our Ax-3 crew continues on their way to space.
Okay. Well, the ground did shake. History was made. The third private mission to launch into space, heading to the International Space Station. You have been listening to the SpaceX broadcast team navigate and talk about what is happening. Mike, I want to bring you into this historic moment that we are watching. What are your thoughts as you watch Axiom 3 lift off?
Kristen, I'm really excited for my I wish I was there with them, by the way, but I'm really excited for the people on board. Mike Lopez Alegria, I've been friends with him for over 25 years. He's a former NASA astronaut, colleague and friend, a wonderful astronaut, great guy. Also, Walter Villaday, who's an Italian astronaut. I know him as well, and he's making his first trip to the space station. And I'm happy for the other astronauts in the countries of Sweden and Turkey. Turkey getting their first person into space. So it's pretty historic. But I'm just smiling. I'm still watching that rocket ship, though, Chris, and making sure it gets there. We still have a few more minutes to go until the main engine's cut off. But I'm very happy for them. I'm glad they're on their way.
Boy, Mike, you took the words right out of my mouth. We keep watching until they disappear into space. That is for sure. Yesterday, there was a planned launch that they scrubbed. They wanted to do more data analysis. Talk about the precision that goes into a moment like this when you have a manned spacecraft.
Yeah, people on board a crewed spacecraft is what's really important to that statement, because when you have people on board, you can't really have any mistakes. You want to make sure it's going to go well. And so even maybe for the slightest concern, you're going to hold off. And everything has to be timed right. You only have a certain window of time in order to launch effectively, and everything's got to work, and all your backup systems. It's not only getting to space, but if you have to protect against a possible abort or an emergency, you need all those conditions to be a go as well. So there's an awful lot of things that go into it besides just lighting the rocket engine.
And Mike, we just had stage separation. You saw the crew there cheering. That is when the spacecraft separates from the rocket. Talk about that moment, the significance of it, and then we'll get Marissa's view from the ground.
Well, that's a pretty big moment, because the first stage now is going to return back to the Earth. That all worked well. And the second engine that we see now, the second stage has lit. So they're on their way. Those are all good signs. And when you're sitting there watching, sitting there on your back, waiting for all these things to happen, you're kind of checking off each one of these milestones. You look at them as milestones. Engine cut off, engine relit for the next stage, and as you go and you get each one of these boundaries that you cross, each one of these milestones you check off, you're getting closer and closer to a successful launch.
Marissa, talk about what you just witnessed. What did it feel like? What did you see there from the ground? How extraordinary that you can be there in person.
You know, Kristen, it never gets old. I am all smiles right now, and over my shoulder, what you can't see is a line of people who just watched this, and we could certainly feel the ground shake. I think everyone, of course, is monitoring those milestones. He just listed some of them. We certainly have that on our hands right now. We know there's a couple of notable moments that are supposed to happen about 8 minutes after liftoff. One of them is we're supposed to hear a sonic boom, and you can feel it. And every time that's happened, there's a parking lot over my shoulder. And the ironic and funny part here is that 8 minutes after liftoff is when we hear all the car alarms going off around us, because that's how intense it is. But then it's about 8 minutes and 48 seconds. It's called SECO. That is the second stage engine cutoff. And Tom Costello trained me well, Kristen. I know that that is around the moment that everyone can kind of breathe a sigh of relief, because that is considered when they're entering the safer stage. But they're traveling so fast right now, on their way, faster than the speed of sound, on their way to the International Space Station. And we know they'll be there for about 14 days. You asked what makes this so historic. It's not just the first crewed mission of this year. It's the first private European crewed mission into space. But this is one of a series of efforts to make space an inhabitable place long-term for humans. They've got a couple of really interesting experiments. One that I thought was interesting, not just looking at tumors and microgravity to allow us as humans to detect and prevent diseases like cancer in space, but also even the effects of microgravity on the way that food tastes. So again, bigger picture here, these little small launches are all part of a bigger effort to make space inhabitable for people like you and me, maybe one day in our lifetime.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or follow us on social media.